Okay, hey everybody. Okay, so we're down to crunch time for most of us. I know that there are my American friends who some of you have already started school. I just talked to a dad today who said it was literally the first day of school today for his children. But I know that give or take, there's a lot of kids right now dealing with back to school anxiety, whether it's the anticipation and school hasn't started yet, or kids who already are in school and are, really struggling with dealing with the transition and all of the stuff related to school and so forth. So, keeping in mind, and I'm sure if you have a child who struggles with learning or behavior, you already know this, that these kids are more vulnerable typically to anxiety related to back to school and academics and so forth. And there's a few reasons for that. So, our instinct as parents, when our kids are struggling with back to school anxiety or anxiety in general, is to talk it through, right? We want to tell them how don't compare yourself to other kids. You're smart. You're just, slower in this area, but you're faster, more ahead in this area and so forth. We want to give them compliments and try and build their confidence and give them tools and tips and strategies and all of that type of stuff. And I'm here to tell you today that that's not going to cut the mustard. I'm not saying not to do those things. Obviously, connecting, talking with your child are all amazing things to do. But there's a very clear reason, typically, why these kids are dealing with anxiety that extends much deeper than something in the mind and altering thought processes and so forth. I mean, I'm going to get into that in a minute. Um, I do want to start off by saying, first of all, that these kids are more vulnerable for, especially after what we've been through in the last 2.5 years. These kids typically thrive on routine. And that's been very wishy-washy in the past 2.5 years. Your kid might have even been in school. I have clients in the States. They, for the most part, their schools were open, but even then the routine was very wishy-washy. So that's really dysregulated their nervous system and has, already kind of started the ball rolling in terms of that dysregulation. And they need that predictability. And in general, there has been a lack of that. Are the schools going to stay open? Is this policy going to change? Is this going to alter? What's going to happen? There's teachers coming and going. There's just so much unpredictability that these kids are dealing with. So no routine, lack of predictability. And then you throw in learning loss that a lot of these kids, have because they do have these issues with learning, and even behavior issues will definitely, as you already know, probably will affect learning. If a kid is, super clever, but is struggling with attention, that's still possibly going to affect his academics, at least later on. So it is futile to try and reason with them, to try and just talk it out. Do those things, definitely talk to your child, of course, but don't think that that's going to be the thing that's going to really shift things. It really boils down to, first of all, regulating their nervous system. And the way we want to do that is through biochemical approaches, meaning nourishment, and connection, meaning reconnecting or a better connecting certain areas of their brain and so forth. And obviously that includes getting their nervous system more regulated, more calm, out of fight or flight, and into rest and digest. So you want to look into the deeper cause. Do not start in the mind, right? So you can do those things, but don't think that shifting is going to happen with talking. It needs to happen with the body. Okay. Anxiety typically, actually, for a lot of our kids and even adults in situations, begins in the body. So the number one thing you want to do is you want to focus on nourishment. So you want to look at, what is your kid eating? A lot of our kids during the summer have been eating a whole lot of junk, or more junk than usual. No judgment, right? Routines go out the window. We're at everything from camp to fairs to friends, bonfires, parties, all that type of stuff. And kids are eating a lot more sugary treats, freezies, ice creams, s'mores, right? I was just talking to a dad this morning who was talking about that, and a whole lot of other stuff. So you want to reduce the amount of sugar and excess carbohydrates, and you want to start your child off on a breakfast in the morning that has high protein and high fat. Definitely carbs are okay. We're not anti-carb here, but we want to minimize the amount of carbs that your child is eating because we want to stabilize their blood sugar. If their blood sugar is stabilized, that's going to stabilize their insulin. That's going to stabilize every other hormone in the body, including their cortisol and adrenaline, right? Which is connected to that fight or flight response. So nourishment is key. Number two, we want to regulate the nervous system. So we want to do that with a few things. So I am a huge fan of breathing methods, deep breathing and so forth. Unfortunately, people really underestimate the power of that when done continuously for, regularly every day over the period of several weeks. If you can get your child on board with that, it's something they can do in class. It's something they can do on the bus, whenever they're feeling stressed. If you grab my Laser Focus Learner Starter Kit, I'll put the link for that in the comments after this live. It has alternate nostril breathing, and your kid can just kind of be in class like this and nobody has to know, and it will really calm their fight or flight response and get them just feeling more relaxed and so forth. So that is number one. Number two in my Laser Focus Learner Starter Kit is the rhythmic movements. There's one or two movements that, again, are incredible for calming the nervous system and getting your kid into just a calmer, more relaxed state. That's also going to get them more receptive to all kinds of stuff. I tell parents, do it before you're about to start homework. If your kid hates reading or gets a lot of anxiety before doing reading or homework. And these kids typically like these movements. It's something you're doing with them. It's a great way to bond and relax. You can put some relaxing music on. You can do it before bed. You can do it before school, before they get on the bus, whatever the case may be. Lastly, you want to address primitive reflexes, again, connected to the nervous system. These primitive reflexes should disappear in infancy, but for our kids, they do not. 100% of the kids tested in a recent study found that they had retained reflexes. So you do want to integrate those. That will help to get them out of that fight or flight response. Reflexes like the Moreau, the fear paralysis are particularly problematic for getting kids stuck in the cycle of fight or flight. And again, there are some exercises for that in my Laser Focus Learner Starter Kit. It's free. So basically, the long and the short of it is we want to start in the body, we want to nourish, and we also want to get that nervous system better regulated so that it's in a rest and digest, nice, calm, focused, relaxed state. The key is in addressing the root cause. So that's number three. If we address the root cause of these learning and behavior difficulties, that's going to improve their anxiety, because oftentimes these kids have anxiety and it's a vicious cycle because they have anxiety because of what's going on. They feel like either other kids or other teachers don't like them. They're not sure about how they fit in, or they're struggling with academics. They may be really popular, but they're struggling with academics and they're worried about how they're going to perform academically, or are they going to mess up in class and, feel like they're going to look dumb or stupid or whatever. And so there's that piece, but then there's also the piece where when kids have brain imbalance, like an overdeveloped left brain, or when they have retained reflexes like a Moreau or fear paralysis reflex, then that is going to fuel that anxiety. So you see how this is going to become a vicious cycle. And then if they're eating poorly, that's going to dysregulate, stress hormones and do all kinds of stuff that's going to, even affect their gut bacteria, which is going to affect their neurotransmitter production. So the more we can start simple, right? What I'm saying is probably really overwhelming. And it can be, when you hear all that, you're like, God, where do I start? Start simple. Start with deep breathing, nourishing, rhythmic movements, and then start diving deeper into primitive reflexes and all of that type of stuff. So I will put the link for that in the comments below. Reach out if you'd like to learn more about my 6-month program, the Full Potential Formula. We actually just launched the Full Potential Academy. It's a 1-year program with all the technology, bells and whistles, dream school online for kids who struggle. So message me, I'll put a link for a clarity call in that, if that's preferable. And also grab the Laser Focus Learner Starter Kit, try the exercises, do them with your child, and let me know how it goes and what results you're seeing and so forth. So thanks for watching, everyone. Have a fantastic day and take care of yourselves. Take care of your kids in terms of focusing on the body, not just talking it through, and have a wonderful start to the school year if you haven't already.